Good Friday morning, and thanks for joining us from the Ohio AgNet, voice you know with the news you trust studio, sponsored by Grain Equipment Company, where innovation meets execution. I'm Dusty Sonnenberg. Well, partly cloudy skies outside right now, 37 degrees on the barn thermometer. It was clear in the overnight hours, though, and many people stayed up into the early morning hours to watch that lunar eclipse. I will admit I was not one of them, but reports are that it was impressive to see. A much warmer day today, into the 70s and breezy. Well, I'm joined today by Terry Mescher. Terry is the H2 Ohio Program Manager with the Ohio Department of Agriculture. Terry, let's talk about H2 Ohio and maybe sort of an update as the program is rolling out across more counties in the state of Ohio.
This past year, we expanded the H2 Ohio program across the rest of the state. You know, looking at what our targets were and trying to get everything done, we had a budget for about 500,000 acres statewide. We opened it up for nutrient management planning and implementation specifically across the rest of the state for a couple different reasons, but primarily it was to try to build capacity for nutrient management, a little bit more experience in the nutrient management realm with our soil and water districts as we started the program out. So
that makes sense. And as you've had a chance, have you seen some good maybe cross-sharing of information or best practices within the soil and water offices of those original 14 or 18 counties being able then to maybe pass on some tricks of the trade to the other counties?
Yeah, we kind of took that opportunity when we're leading up to the statewide expansion, allowing districts that were interested to go in and into the original 14 counties in Maumee County to try to help them sign up, get familiar with the software, get familiar with the program standards and so forth. And then since we've opened it up and have this enrollment and the nutrient management plan development going statewide, we have had several counties working back and forth. You know, we've got a WLEB county giving some advice and some guidance on how to look at this and some of those sort of things. And it's really been great to have some of that interplay between the district technicians that really has bolstered some of our ODA workforce that we have out there helping the districts do this.
Sure, that makes a lot of sense. Well, I know for our personal operation as we enrolled in H2 Ohio and have gone through the different iterations of it, a lot of education goes along with that too, and a lot of actually relationship building with the staff at the Soil and Water Office as we look at the program and ways to, what practices are going to fit best and maybe really understanding the voluntary nutrient management plan and all other things. Does that seem to be common across the state and across the program? Is that education, those interactions?
You know, yeah, it definitely is, Dusty, and I think one of the things that with the push and the focus on Western Lake Erie Basin, when we started H2 Ohio 5 years ago now, we probably didn't recognize the educational component that goes along with it. And I think as we move the program forward, I think that educational component will probably start to rise to the top a little bit more and probably have a larger presence in what we do with H2 Ohio, not only with the individual producer, but looking at what we're doing with CAP, the Conservation Action Project, and trying to illustrate and looking at phosphorus applications and the economic return to that. You know, that whole effort that we're doing there is primarily education, just trying to get more understanding, more knowledge out there. And really, from my perspective personally, when we look at nutrient management and we look at the producer and making those decisions, as they talk with their consultants, as they talk with their advisors, really positioning that the producer to say, why do I need this phosphorus? Why do I need this product? Where is it going to gain for me? What am I going to get back for it? If we can encourage more of those conversations, I think we've gone a long way to our overall goals with H2 Ohio.
Again, my guest today is Terry Mescher. Terry is the program director for the H2 Ohio program with the Ohio Department of Agriculture. Terry, thanks so much for the update and for your time today.
Thank you, Dusty.
Let's take a look now at your Friday morning weather forecast brought to us by Seed Consultants. Simply better performance online at seedconsultants.com.
Partly to mostly sunny, very warm today, but it will be windy and clouds increase late. I'm Chief Meteorologist Ryan Martin. Let's take a look at that Ohio forecast update. We've been talking about this day all week, the day that's going to be quite warm and quite windy. It's ahead of our next frontal boundary that wants to come through as we move through the overnight tonight and especially tomorrow into early Sunday. Let's talk through it here nearby today. We are sunny and warm through the morning and midday. Clouds increasing this afternoon. Very windy conditions at 15 to 30 miles an hour easily. And I think late this afternoon into this evening, we're talking about howling gusts at 20 to 40. No precipitation through today. Clouds increasing tonight. And then after midnight, actually probably toward 4 a.m. tomorrow morning, we see moisture track out of Indiana and into Ohio. Scattered showers will be with us through most of the day on Saturday. Round 1 is going to be relatively light and well spread over the state. Round 2 overnight Saturday night through early Sunday morning. features thunderstorms that can be strong, maybe severe, and that will boost our rain totals definitely. Anywhere from a quarter to 1.5 inches of rain with coverage at 100% of the Buckeye State from Saturday right on through Sunday midday. The clouds break up Sunday afternoon, and we chill down quickly and stay chilly through St. Patrick's Day on Monday. Next Tuesday, we get warm air back, and we're warm into next Wednesday with south flow dominating. Our next weather system hits next Wednesday night into Thursday, bringing rain, maybe ending as some wet snow, and then we're chilly to finish next week. I'm meteorologist Ryan Martin.
Thanks, Ryan. Stay tuned. We'll be back with more after this.
This is Dale Menyo with the Ohio AgNet. For over 25 years, my truck has been running strong on biodiesel. Reliable, high-performance fuel that keeps me on the road promoting agriculture. Every gallon helps power Ohio's economy, protect our environment, and support our hardworking soybean farmers. The best part? It works in any diesel engine. No modifications needed. Take it from me. Choose biodiesel and drive with purpose. Learn how at soyohio.org.
Joining me today is Mike Steenhoek. He is the Executive Director of the Soy Transportation Coalition. Mike, thanks so much for being with us. And before we get into it, I need to congratulate you on receiving the Tom Oswald Legacy Award during a ceremony last evening. Quite an honor, and you definitely deserving of that award.
Well, that's very kind, and really appreciate the United Soybean Board for the honor. And it was particularly poignant that it's named the Tom Oswald Legacy Award because Tom Oswald was a really distinguished farmer leader for the Iowa Soybean Association as well as for the United Soybean Board. I had the pleasure over the years to call Tom a friend. He died unexpectedly a few years ago, and so it was very poignant to receive a award in his name, and obviously just a reminder of what an honor it is to work on behalf of some of the most extraordinary people on the planet, and that's America's soybean farmers.
Well, you're very humble, but that's, again, well earned. Well, let's talk about some different topics going on in the soy transportation world, and one that seems like it just keeps coming up time and time again. Water levels on the Mississippi River and prospects for barge transportation as we go into the new year.
Yeah, so when you look kind of further south on the Mississippi River, so places like Memphis, like New Orleans, you'll see water levels that are pretty sufficient. But once you start getting kind of that St. Louis on north, there are some red flags, and we are at kind of low water conditions, and this is the time of the year when you look at over the 12-month period that you need to see these water levels start to elevate. Because what you want is that when you enter into the drier months of the year, summer and fall, you enter that from a position of strength, not from a position of weakness. You want some abundance. You want some slack in the system. And right now we really don't have that. So that's obviously a concern. So we want some additional precipitation for not only for farm ground to help replenish and recharge the soil, but also for water levels on our rivers. We also need to keep in mind that farmers care about the inland waterway system, not just in the fall when it comes to exporting soybeans and grain, but also in the spring, like March and April, because there's a lot of northbound fertilizer that gets sent, obviously, to correspond with planting season. And so we need to have an inland waterway system that's fully operational, throughout the course of the year.
How have we been doing with some of the infrastructure projects with the dredging and then repair and maintenance on some of those locks and dams?
Yeah, that's certainly an ongoing process. One of the things that the last several years of having low water on the river has really stimulated is more action by the Army Corps of Engineers to do more advanced dredging. One of the rules when it comes to maintaining an infrastructure is the best time to respond to a challenge is before the challenge, not actually after the challenge. So one of the things that we saw is that, if you start seeing storm clouds on the horizon, if you will, if you see low water conditions start to materialize, that's the time to activate those dredges, get on the front end of it. So we have seen much better performance over the last couple of years. So that's obviously good news. And, we do continue to see some additional commitment from the federal government and actual funding flowing to some of these lock and dam projects. That certainly needs to continue. We've got a lot of work that remains to be done, but at least we're seeing some positive momentum in that regard.
dynamic changes going on right now with the new administration at the federal level. Any prospects maybe for new investment within the infrastructure, or is it really a wait and see like everything else seems to be?
Yeah, we certainly hope so. I know that they're obviously looking at all elements of government spending, and a lot of that is welcome. We do need to be good stewards of taxpayer dollars. We are pleased that some of a number of infrastructure projects that have received federal grants in the previous couple years, soybean farmers have actually committed some funding toward it. So there's a project at the Port of Milwaukee on the Great Lakes system, a couple of them in the Pacific Northwest. We've committed funding down to the lower Mississippi River. That funding is continuing to proceed uninterrupted, unmitigated. We obviously hope for that to continue. But as far as moving forward, one of the things that President Trump in his first term frequently discussed is the need to invest in infrastructure. That's something that he gets. And so I don't see him having a change of perspective in his second term. Obviously, it needs to be wise investments. It needs to be prudent. But I do think he understands how if you want to outcompete the rest of the world, it's not just about growing stuff that people want. It's also about getting it from point A to point B in the most cost-effective, reliable manner. Winning in the international marketplace is just as much a function of transportation as production.
My guest again today is Mike Steenhoek, Executive Director of the Soy Transportation Coalition. To hear the rest of this interview, visit the featured audio section at ohioagnet.com. Stay tuned. We'll be back to take a look at your markets after this.
Attention Ohio businesses. Join the Ohio Bureau of Workers' Compensation for the 2025 Ohio Safety Congress and Expo, April 16th through the 18th at the Greater Columbus Convention Center. Connect with industry experts, have hands-on training sessions, explore cutting-edge safety solutions with over 300 exhibitors. Whether you're looking to reduce risks, enhance productivity, or build a stronger safety culture, the Ohio Safety Congress is for you. Register at www.ohiosafetycongress.com. It's free.
Let's take a look at what's impacting our markets. Today's market analysis is brought to you by the Louis Dreyfus Company. Excited to be building the newest state-of-the-art soybean crush facility in Upper Sandusky, Ohio. Phone 574-566-2113 for information on soybean marketing to LDC. Here's Ryan Martin.
Grain markets bounced on Thursday after the week so far had been rather negative post-WASDE. However, can we look at any of this as sticking around long term? Time will tell, but right now it just seemed like a bit of a dead cat bounce overall. Markets were higher with soybeans and soybean meal pacing the rally yesterday. Headlines were that an Argentine crusher had 50% of the ports down for work slowdowns because of labor disputes, labor strikes. That caused the rally in the soy meal first, and we actually saw the beans coming along for the ride. Argentina is the world's largest soy meal exporter, and pre-harvest labor strikes are seasonally normal. When's the best time to go on strike? Right about the time that your boss needs you. So that's what goes on in South America. Soybeans followed the meal rally while the oil share trade slipped back just a bit. Corn and wheat futures recovered from their Wednesday declines as well amid ongoing active U.S. weekly export sales. The wheat and corn weekly sales were all larger than expected, suggesting that the week of March 6th that tariffs have not yet knocked down grain demand out of the U.S. The U.S. sold a hefty 28.8 million bushels of wheat, about 38 million bushels of corn, 27.6 million bushels of soybeans. That soybean number was bigger than the last several weeks combined. For the crop years to date, the U.S. is still ahead of last year's pace on wheat exports by 12%, corn up 25% year on year, and beans holding on to a higher than last year's share of 14%. We also saw big sales of soy oil. The supply and demand estimates are going to be needing to be raised on soy oil to by at least 600 million pounds to 2.4 billion pounds to really ramp up to these sales that we've seen as of late. I don't think that does much of anything to the rest of the bean complex, but it is a talking point on the WASDE. There were also rumors yesterday that the Chinese grain importers secured about 10 to 15 cargoes of Brazilian corn for export in late July and August. That would be a time when you go to Brazil for that crop anyway. I'm Ryan Martin.
Thanks, Ryan. Well, let's take a look at how your markets closed yesterday, brought to us by Seed Consultants. Simply better performance, online at seedconsultants.com. May corn closed up 4.5 cents, and July corn was up 4 3/4. May soybeans closed up 10 1/4 cents, while July soybeans were up 9.5. And May Kansas City wheat closed up 14 1/2 cents, while May Chicago wheat was up 8.5, and May Minneapolis wheat closed up 9 1/4 cents. Now numbers have turned red in the overnight, with May corn down 4 1/4 cents at $4.61. May soybeans are down 3 cents at $10.07 3/4, and wheat for May is down 2.5 cents, $5.60. At the close yesterday, April live cattle were trading higher and April lean hogs were trading lower. This is the Ohio AgNet.